Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, allow your eyelids to close. That's it. I want you to breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. And I want you to imagine a windmill. This could be a windmill, like a child's windmill on a beach, or it could be an old-fashioned windmill, large in the countryside, or perhaps a modern wind turbine. And I want you to hold that thought in your mind as you see the rotation of the blades. Become aware of the surroundings and focus on the movement. And perhaps it's clockwise, but it could be anti-clockwise. And just focus on the movement of that windmill going round and round. As you notice that your breathing starts to match with the speed of the blades of this windmill rotating. Maybe it's one full rotation is a breath in, and one full rotation is a breath out. Perhaps you can imagine blue skies surrounding this windmill. And maybe you can be aware of where this windmill is. Because you could be close or you could be far away. And as you stare into the rotating windmill, notice your eyelids getting heavier and heavier. Your neck, your shoulders becoming looser, like tension is just draining away.
I couldn't find that on Amazon Music.
Enabling you to go deeper and deeper relaxed. I want your imagination to get lost in the rotation of the blades. And to think back to a time in your past where you were putting something off. I want you to imagine a sealed envelope, perhaps on a table. I want you to recognize perhaps a stamp on the front that represented who it was from. And remember thinking back then that you will open this letter when you're good and ready, that you will do it on your terms. And if you can recall where you were at the time, perhaps even where the envelope would have been placed, just let me know by nodding your head. And perhaps you saw that letter many times before you made the decision to open it. And I want you to allow your unconscious mind to drift you to the point in time, minutes or perhaps moments before you finally opened that letter. And I want you to adjust your body so you're breathing in the same way you were breathing back then, moments before you opened it. And perhaps there was some inner dialogue, or perhaps there wasn't. But there is a presupposition. And that presupposition is that because you're about to open that letter, your resources exceed the demands of whatever is in that letter. You've accepted that whatever it says, you can handle it. And that means that in that moment, you felt resourceful. And I want you to scan your body for where you feel that resource. Maybe it's a feeling in your chest or in your head, or there in the center of your body in the solar plexus. There'll be a feeling of, I'm ready. An attitude of, bring it on. And then feel like you're in your body, doing what you were doing at the time where you opened that letter. And notice that it wasn't tentative. It wasn't cautious. At that point, you had a sense of certainty that your resources exceed whatever challenges or issues, whatever fallout is in that letter. And feel like you're back in your body in that moment, opening that letter. And notice that it doesn't even matter what's in there. What matters is you chose to do this at the time that you wanted to. You weren't being manipulated or influenced by other variables. This is you exercising your free will to do something at the point you wanted to do it. Tap into that feeling, and I want you to feel that it is increasing a sense of self-belief. In many areas of life, there is a spectrum, a dimmer switch. And if self-doubt is at one end of the spectrum, then self-belief is at the other. And it doesn't matter if self-belief passed a threshold for you to choose to open that letter, or simply by deciding to open the letter, self-belief was activated. It doesn't matter if it was the chicken or the egg that came first, because in either case, you did what was necessary. And then I want you to think to a time that you had trouble with an individual that was causing conflict, causing problems. And you knew you had to do something to bring about a resolution. And notice that while any action was delayed, doubt and anxiety had room to grow. Fear multiplies in darkness. Fear is like shadows. But if fear is like shadows, then action is like the light. And a shadow can't exist when you're shining a torch on it. And I want you to think to the moment where you said to yourself, enough is enough. This won't get better by itself. And you did whatever was necessary to bring about a resolution. And in that moment, notice you had reconciled any of the potential fallout and still decided this was the best thing to do. In order to make that decision, self-belief was there. You believed in your ability to do what was right in that situation, and tap into that feeling of self-belief, of action, that the threshold was passed and you did what was necessary. Re-experience that feeling of doing what was necessary. But you did it because you were ready. You did it on your time frame. You were in control. And notice that it didn't really matter what happened after that, because the action solved the problem of inertia. And when action is taken, momentum follows. And notice that in that case, the momentum led to a resolution that wouldn't have happened were it not for that action. Tap into that feeling of self-belief, and that in this case, action was necessary and action was initiated by you. And then I want you to think of a time where there was something you needed to check, and you didn't know what would be in that thing that you needed to check. Perhaps it was on a list, and every day you didn't feel ready, and then one day you were ready. And I want you to think of that day where you were ready and you had what was necessary to check that thing, and you did check it. I want you to tap into two different emotions. The first, that decisiveness, that action-taking part of you, where you simply did the thing that needed to be done. Notice where you feel this action-taking resource state, and you can call it motivation or simply taking action. But know that this is always accessible to you. And you can do it when you're ready, or you can simply do it trusting that you will be ready. As you think back in life, there's many times that you've said yes to something without knowing if you could do it. And in many cases, the resources appeared just as you needed them. And then feel how good it feels to check this thing and to think, wow. Having that feeling of being pleasantly surprised that it did reveal something positive for you, giving you evidence that not everything that is delayed and not everything where hesitation takes place leads to something undesirable. This is evidence for you that by doing what's necessary, it can give you good feelings of reassurance, clarity. And I want you to accept the suggestion that good decisions require accurate information. And therefore, to have self-belief, you need the right information in order to know what's what, to make the best decisions possible. And you can call this process due diligence or just being sensible. Tap into that feeling that in each case, you did what was necessary at the time that you felt right. And I want you to take from this an idea that rather than waiting for the right time, you can create the right time simply by making an evaluation that whatever happens, I'll handle it. I'm ready. And say the phrase in your head, I'm ready, let's do this, in the style that you would say it to yourself that exudes self-belief. And then I want you to think of one thing that you've been putting off for a while. Imagine what that thing is. Because it might be a letter, something to check, or a conflict to resolve. And I want you to think about that thing, but breathe the same way you were breathing when you took action before. Access that state of mind where you've evaluated that your resources exceed whatever the possible consequences or challenges are. And then say to yourself, bring it on. Enough is enough. I can do this. And then imagine seeing yourself like you're someone else doing the very thing that you've been putting off. And seeing that sense of relief on your face when you've finally done it. That an open loop has been closed. And sometimes a loose end can create more anxiety than whatever the issue is that could come up from tying up that loose end. Anxiety is uncertainty. Certainty is clarity, and clarity leads to good decisions that make progress. So see yourself doing whatever is necessary on this thing that you've been putting off, and notice that version of you looks less anxious, more relieved, and has created momentum, wondering what else they can do that they've been putting off. And then imagine drifting back to a place where you're staring into a windmill, still seeing the blades continue to rotate, and getting a sense that all of this are just thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, dreams within dreams that have enabled you to reactivate that part of you that passes a point of threshold and does whatever is necessary. Reactivate that feeling and know that you can deploy this whenever you choose to deploy it. As you allow the image of that windmill to fade away and find yourself returning fully to the present, listening to my voice. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that all parts are back in the present, but activating a sense of self-belief and certainty that your resources exceeds life's challenges. Starting to count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.